Welcome to the Boschcast with James Boschman and Denise Young, where we talk about Manitoba real estate and everything else that's on our minds.
Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's James here and Denise, and I'm live on location in my sunroom today. So if dog starts barking, cats start meowing, if it starts raining, that's why. We're getting a deck built. We're getting a deck built currently, and our contractor was here earlier, and we had to wait around for the inspector to come and do a framing inspection. And it's kind of like when you book cable internet connection or a hookup for services, they tell you we'll be there between like 11:30 a.m. and 4 p.m. And so you kind of have to wait around. Just sucks, but I've been kind of at home chilling.
You're mostly a silhouette right now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you were good, and then all of a sudden it got dark. It just keeps changing.
Is that better?
Yeah.
That's better. Yeah.
Yeah, for the moment.
Because it's so sunny, and like it's really it's sunny and then it's gloomy, and then it's sunny and it's gloomy.
Right. I can tell because like you just got dark again.
Yeah.
And then it goes back.
Maybe I'll try to sit over here. Hold on. I'll just try to sit in a different spot.
Yeah.
This is really live on location.
Live on location, yeah.
How's that?
Right now it's perfect. Yeah, you're
awesome.
really clear now. Yeah.
Sweet. Awesome. I got my crew here, my core
crew
of helpers.
Yeah.
That's Mila the cat and Nova dog.
Yeah.
So they're
for some squirrels or what?
They're waiting for the squirrels, yeah. And Abby, our other cat, she's sleeping in bed, so
good.
She's had enough of the weather.
Yeah.
And I poured myself an Italian soda in a mason jar.
Nice.
Day Class A. So it's got Campari, sweet vermouth, and just like some club soda. So I may have to pee halfway through, but yeah, no. So we have lots of stuff to talk about today.
Yes.
But first, let's get into some dad jokes.
Yeah.
So Jameis had sent one to you that you sent me that was pretty funny. And it's it sounds like it's like some commentary from a waiter at a restaurant.
Yes.
So the waiter asks, "How was your dinner, sir?" "Well, the fish is really dry." "Yes, that's because we had to take it out of the water."
So bad. So lame.
So bad. Classic dad joke.
Yeah.
Another one that I just found that's really funny. My wife asked if I could stop singing Wonderwall. I said, maybe. That's such a good song.
That was one of my favorite songs to sing on Rock Band.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, some of our friends, they went to Europe, went on a Europe trip, and every pub that was like there would always be like live music, I guess, and there was always Wonderwall.
Yeah.
Everybody's like scream chanting it in the pub. That would be so fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we've got a few topics today. I want to talk about today's talk about it topic is the inflation sensation and its translation to our local real estate situation, and the interest rate irritation and the deflation creation.
You should have wrapped that.
Yeah. They call me M&Ms. M&Ms. I'm a poet and I don't even know it.
Yeah.
So what's going on in the market? Have you noticed a small fraction of a contraction in the action of transactions? Have you, AKA a bit of a slowdown in the market?
Yes, I feel like this July was definitely pre-COVID feeling,
Yeah,
where, a normal July where things kind of slow down. Now we
yeah,
can attribute some of that to high interest rates, but I think this was the most normal summer we've had since COVID.
yeah,
And in that nothing felt like, you know, different.
yeah,
People were definitely going about their business vacationing and going to the lake
yeah, for
uh,
sure.
and all that stuff. I mean, definitely some of it's going to be a little bit to do with the interest rates, but
Yeah, I would say the same thing. I think it's just the fact that we've been on a like the last couple of years have been such a sugar high when it comes to the low interest rates. Money's like really cheap to borrow. Everybody's transacting. The market's like in a frenzy. And now that things have gone back to normal, I think like there was so much pent up demand after COVID, after people kind of got back to normal in the market. But now I think this summer there's pent up demand of life enjoyment. And so a lot of people just, taking extra time to and having extra focus on like going to the lake and spending time with family and, traveling and doing all that kind of stuff.
mhm.
Especially after COVID, because there's like, for such a long time, we couldn't really, I mean, we could, but like, there's such a stigma over spending time with family or being in a place with a lot of people, especially during lockdowns and stuff like that. And like our summers are so short here,
Yeah,
and people want to enjoy them now more so than ever before. I know I want to. Um, so I think a lot of people forget what life was like pre-COVID with our markets.
yeah,
We went from like the market was red hot. Didn't matter if it was like July, August, December, January, it didn't really matter. It was ripping all year. And now we're kind of, back to normal pre-COVID, like you said. And people's focuses are not really buying houses right now per se. It's like spending time and enjoying the summer. And but I think that once kids go back to school, the priorities will start to people will have to face their priorities again.
right. Yeah,
They'll like rear their ugly head and they'll be like, oh yeah, kids are back in school. We still have to sell, or we still
yeah.
have to buy.
Yeah, we had plans for this, and now we're going to go through with them, and yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So I think
yeah.
that's a real possibility.
Hmm.
But I've definitely noticed a slowdown in the phone ringing and just like inquiries in general for different things, both new build and resale.
Yeah.
And I think, like you said, the interest rates. Although I think, sorry, I just have to get up and let the dog out here. Okay, go, 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 go. Sorry, but I think that the un I think that is like people's focus on going away, and you think about it like average Canadian, they're working, let's say during the week, Monday to Friday,
Yeah.
and then they're like, we're off to the lake this weekend. The
Yeah.
last thing we want to do is go house hunting, right now. So,
Yeah.
but I think that is a little bit coupled with the interest rates that it's harder to qualify right now for what you really want. So a lot of people are kind of taking that wait and see approach. A lot of the froth of the market, like the people that only transacted in real estate because the rates were so low, those people have been kind of taken out of the market. So now we have
Sure.
a lot of cash buyers or people that have a ton of equity in their home and they're looking to downsize, or
Right.
they're
Or
looking to
they're fresh to the
upsize,
market.
or
Yeah.
they're fresh to the market. Maybe it's a dual income. So,
Yeah.
5.5% 5-year fixed rate's not really going to impact them too much from the qualifying perspective. So, but with that being said, there's still uncertainty there. So I think the fact that people don't really know Like there's not a lot of confidence in what the Bank of Canada is going to do next. It's like, you know, I feel like the last one was kind of expected, but the one before that was definitely not.
Yeah.
And that was like a sledgehammer for a lot of people, I feel like. And they're like, holy crap, you know, we could keep getting slapped around with high rates and, you know, but, you know, I think that we're kind of this summer, what I'm feeling is we're definitely in the age of value and the age of affordability. I think we talked a little bit about this last time.
Right.
If you have a listing and you're thinking about selling right now, make sure you do absolutely everything humanly possible to make that place shine, make it beautiful. Yeah. Because if you thought people were picky before, they're even more picky now, and because they have a right to be. And but when I say age of affordability, like wrote an offer this week, and on a house that was listed for $229,900 in St. James. So like that's like, you know, starter home in any market. Yeah. And like it showed well, wasn't too terribly much that you had to do to it. And it had an offers date. So we go ahead, we put our best foot forward with our offer, which we thought was like fair market value. And it was kind of at the top end of my client's price range. And in the morning, so the realtor, the listing agent said he was going to be presenting offers in the evening. So I followed up with him in the morning. He's like, oh, I don't have anything. So things are looking bright for my guys. You know, it's like, oh, maybe we're going to actually get one this time. And seemed optimistic. And then around 4:00, he's like, yeah, I've got 5 offers. So 5 offers, including yours. And I'm like, okay, things are looking a little bit more grim. Yeah. And less optimistic now. But you never know. Like you could have people that like it's a blind bid, so we don't know what people are going to go in at. They could go in with, you know, list price or under list price. You don't really know.
We've seen some people go under list even with offers on the table.
It's the throw the shit at the wall to see if it sticks kind of mentality. So there definitely are people out there like that. Mm-hmm. So we were still like, okay, well, let's, you know, we're still pretty confident. And then presents offers at 7, calls with the final count, 13 offers.
Oh my gosh.
And it's just like that gut, like, oh, like, okay, we're done. Like we're out. There's no way we're going to compete. And then it took 3 hours to hear back.
Oh my gosh.
And which is insane. Like,
yeah,
you and I were talking earlier about how it's so irritating when realtors aren't organized. Like, seriously, like get freaking organized. Like,
yeah,
it shouldn't take 3 hours. I know it's 13 offers, but like, if you have a system, it shouldn't take that long.
No.
And the fact that you're leaving 12 other people hanging, waving in the wind is just like disrespectful in my opinion.
Yeah.
But anyways, so we're like, okay, let's write it off. We're not getting it. Didn't get a call back. And then he just called and said, okay, we accepted an offer, but it's conditional till Friday. And I've been checking to see if it's sold, but it hasn't yet. So, so I mean, at least people aren't writing clean, like people are still writing clean offers, but I think in that lower price range, I feel like people are willing to maybe go a little bit higher on price if they can, if they see the value. So they're still kind of going crazy on price, but they're still putting the financing condition in.
Yeah, it's nice to see more and more people putting the conditions when they need a mortgage, because there's nothing worse than seeing, you know, it come back on the market because it sold in multiple offers, but they took an offer that
was unconditional.
That was unconditional, and then they couldn't follow through because they couldn't get the mortgage. They couldn't get the financing. Yeah, and it's like, I mean, anyone can pull their financing condition, but that doesn't mean that they're going to be approved, right? So
yeah, exactly. So I'm seeing more and more of that, and then given that like I sell a lot of the new homes, more people calling saying, do you have anything under 350 that's brand new, or do you have anything around 300 that's brand new? And so just trying to like, convince builders that can pivot if they have the ability to pivot, start building some, lower price point product. Maybe it's stuff with like, if the developer allows it, like a crawl space, or, we're going to get back into that era of brand new homes without garages, like a front drive. And then if you want a detached garage or an attached garage, those are options for you.
Right.
But just to offer some product that can keep the price point down, and it just keep people transacting. So, so, with all this uncertainty in the market, all we can do is kind of speculate. And, when things slow down for me, I try to like keep busy, and whether that's like, working on my business, reaching out to clients, past clients, new clients, just trying to keep the foot on the gas, right? Mm-hmm. And make sure that, that people are having a good experience, or, upcoming possessions, making sure that everything is fine on possession and stuff like that. But also I've had a lot of time to research, and I'm one of those people that like, silence is kind of deadly for me. I'm not a meditator. Like I can't sit in silence with my thoughts, because it's pretty dangerous. So I'm always listening to something. I'm always listening to a podcast, or I'm listening to not really the news. I'm not a mainstream media guy, but like, just trying to get like, keep up to date with our economy, and trying to learn and like stay on top of things as much as possible.
Mm-hmm.
And like, just trying to be a market expert. And I feel like I'm a local market expert, but I've always wanted to learn more about like the macro. And, over the course of this year, I've really, made it a priority to learn more about our macroeconomics and how it impacts, things here at home. Right. And it's so funny, because I was having a conversation with my friend Jarrett, and I was like, last year or like 2 years ago, when the lumber prices were skyrocketing for builders, I felt like I was like a lumber expert. and now I'm like trying to be like a macro expert, and next year, what's it going to be like, but part of that, doing that research, is watching videos, listening to different economists, and not taking one opinion and trying to formulate an idea or a theory of what's going to happen based on that one opinion, but listening to everything,
all of it.
Because there's so much nuance out there, and you kind of have to take bits and pieces and like, dissect that. And so if I was a betting man, mm-hmm. here's what I think is going to happen. And it's kind of how it relates to our local market here. So the next interest rate meeting is September 6th. And my theory is, so the Bank of Canada can either raise rates again or pause rates. Mm-hmm. They're not going to enter deflationary territory and start cutting yet. It's too early. So I think that the Bank of Canada in September is going to pause their rate hiking cycle. And then after September, there's 2 more rate announcements or rate meetings before next year, October 25th, and I believe December sometime. So the general like market consensus out there is that they're going to pause until next year.
Right.
And rate hikes the previous rate hikes, it takes a while for those to bite and really take effect in our economy. And so the rate hikes will really start to bite once, the dog days of summer are gone. And, by the time September rolls around, that'll kind of be the end of summer, which is sad.
start to notice their credit card bills and their bank accounts.
Well, yeah. I mean, like, you know, to be honest, like, generally speaking, people are not prudent financially. So they right now, especially, you know, in Manitoba, I feel like a lot of people are pushing that shit to the side. It's like, we're not even thinking about it. We're just going to go grind it out at work. We're going to go to the lake. We're focusing on the lake. Kids are off school. We have too much other shit to think about. Yeah, too much other shit to think about. But then I think once the majority of Canadians are, like, once summer's done, or on the tail end of summer, kids are back in school, people are going to be faced with, you know, the bite of the interest rates. And then we're going to probably see an even further contraction in frothy spending, like buying a vehicle or going on that trip. Or I think that vacation rates are going to drop. I think that, you know, for the lack of a better term, it's going to be a cold, dark winter. I think things are going to be really slow economically.
Right.
And especially once people are faced with their hard realities again. And then, you know, inflation to date has cooled pretty significantly. We were over 8%, and now we're down to like 2.83% inflation. Unemployment rates, though, they jumped up in July to 5.5%. So, and I think we're going to see, after summer's done, I think we're going to see a continued rise in unemployment.
Oh, yeah.
And then by the time the new data comes out for the Bank of Canada, that's what they need to see. Tiff Macklem, the governor, has said that repeatedly. He needs to see jobs weaken. He needs to see the data weaker than what it was. So I think that a lot can happen between now and then. And they want to see that before the next Bank of Canada meeting to make their decision. And I think they will. And, you know, I think that's what they're going to need to see to hit the pause button. And then, you know, there's a saying, when the U.S. gets itchy, Canada catches the crabs.
Oh, geez.
So,
I haven't heard that one before.
that's actually my rendition of it. It's when the U.S. Gets the sniffles, Canada catches the cold.
Oh, okay.
But
I haven't heard that either. But yeah, okay.
Well,
yeah,
like we're the little sister to the U.S. in terms of economy. And
what happens there affects us for sure.
Yeah, we're a main trading partner and stuff like that. So whatever happens in the U.S., the decisions that the Fed makes, we are typically not too far behind. And that's been proven over the Fed hiking cycle, and in Canada's hiking cycle, the Fed's pause cycle, Canada's pause. And because we're such close trading partners, what's happened is the rate hikes, the Fed's actions in the States, the rate hikes in the States have really, really bitten. And the US Fed is at a point now where they are coming out themselves and they're forecasting no recession. So they're pretty much on target, they think, for their soft landing. That could be a lot of like rhetoric. You know, the reality is next year is an election year too. So, you know, the outgoing president, he wants to try to make things look a lot shinier and brighter than they actually are.
Re-elected, yeah.
Yeah. So, but the reality is the market's there, the Fed, they forecasted no recession, and economists are starting to theorize that the deflationary cycle is starting. And the reason is because it has already started and begun in China. And it's like, when it comes to trade economics, it's all kind of like flows downhill kind of thing. It's, you know, trade has a huge play in import export, has a huge play in our economy. And, you know, so people are saying that rate cuts are actually going to come way sooner than later in the US. And so in order for our country to avoid the risk of having our dollar, our loonie, limp behind the US dollar, and then potentially, if that happens, we potentially import inflation from the US. economists are saying like it would be really wise to pause. It would not be in our best interest to over tighten, because then we're really going to be in a bad place if they decide sooner than later to cut. So there is a really well-known economist from Canada that I follow. He's from Desjardins, and he recently said today in an interview, he said, Canada would have to fold itself into a pretzel if they hike rates again. By pausing and taking the wait and see approach, it allows the previous hiking cycle to bite and slow down the economy over the wintertime. By next spring, the Bank of Canada should have the data that it needs to start talking about cutting rates. You know, the US seems to think that they can land their plane with their inflation target at 2% without hitting the recession. But ultimately, what does that mean for our country? What does that mean for Canada? So right now, most markets are still pricing in a small to moderate slap recession, where we're going to see, because if you think about how the data that they use is lagging in order to make policy decisions on rates, if we have 3 more rate meetings before winter, and then we have the natural slowdown in the economy because of winter, by that time, I feel like there will be quite a few more, like the unemployment rate's going to rise. There's going to be a lot of job losses. And again, if that happens, recession happens, the only tool that the Bank of Canada has is to ease off, to basically start cutting it. They call it quantitative easing. It's exactly what they did during COVID.
Right.
So rates will fall, and then where are we going to be? Like, what does that mean for our market? What does this all mean? So I still maintain the fact that the fiscal policy and the monetary policy in this country is not talking to each other. And so what that means is you've got Trudeau's cabinet, the immigration dude, still on track to open the floodgates to new immigrants. Number one, their targets are never accurate. So
Right.
when they say 450,000 new immigrants, it's like 1.2 million. So you might as well double it, or 1.5 times it. And so you think about that. Okay, these people are coming here as PRs. They have to prove jobs, schooling, income. So chances are they have some money to play with, right? They don't have the same career selection here, because if you're a doctor in India and you come here and you want to practice, you have to go back to school.
Right.
So conservatives, they kind of want to change that, but that's neither here nor there. I think that these people come to this country, they invest in assets. That's why
Right.
you see a lot of immigrants purchasing retail stores, convenience stores, Tim Hortons franchises, gas stations, stuff like that. It's not a stereotype. It's just that they need to pool their money and they need to park it somewhere, and they need to have an investment here.
And they need to provide jobs for their family so that
exactly, so they can continue to bring people here. So, it's all about their prosperity in this country. Sorry, dogs.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
Squirrel.
Hey, no barking. She's usually good, but we have a path that runs by our house. So if there's she hates rollerbladers.
Oh yeah.
I don't blame her. I used to be a skateboarder, so.
Oh yeah.
Hate rollerbladers too.
I used to love rollerblading until I fell.
Oh yeah.
Smashed my wrist.
Yeah. I feel like a proud dad dog sometimes when she barks at rollerbladers.
That's funny.
You get that, fruit booter. So immigration,
yeah.
The reality is we're going to have more people, less houses. And the reason why we're going to have less houses is because of the contraction that's happening right now with the interest rates. When interest rates are high, money's too expensive to borrow. People like builders aren't taking risks building spec homes. They're not incentivized by our local government to do so. There's nothing in it for them.
Right.
It's too risky. Same thing with land development. Same thing with condo development. Like the list goes on and on.
Mm-hmm.
The only people who are really benefiting are landlords, and landlords in provinces and cities that don't have specific rent caps in place, where you can increase your rents to account for the inflation, to account for the higher interest rates, to account for those are the people who are really happy right now, because there's like a 0% vacancy rate in Manitoba. People
Mm-hmm.
are lining up at the door, kicking the door down, trying to get their application approved. And it's sad. I was talking to actually my accountant. He has some rental properties and he loves it right now because he can get like the best creme de la creme tenants in his properties, but he feels bad for everybody else. So if you have a tenant that's willing to offer you, a 2-year or 1-year lease agreement, all cash upfront, we'll prepay, we're non-smoking, we don't have pets, we don't have kids, we're quiet, we don't party. That's like a AAA plus tenant, right?
Yeah.
They've prepaid, so you don't have to worry about them not paying. The only thing you kind of have to worry about is them not paying their utilities. But I mean, it's better than having to worry about not paying rent and not paying utilities.
Yeah.
So versus, you have a single mom with a 1-year-old and they have a dog, because she came out of a divorce situation. It's
but she still needs somewhere to live. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, it's sad right now.
Yeah.
And,
but it could be worse, because my sister is in Ontario and they have rental bidding wars.
Oh my God.
Yes.
That's insane.
They have bidding wars on rentals there.
Jesus.
So it's not just make yourself look like the best tenant. It's also how much extra money are you willing? What else could you give them?
Yeah. Give you my firstborn.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we're going to be in this pickle next year, I believe, where we have a contraction right now in building, contraction on development, and then a withholding of inventory from the market, because when interest rates are high, people don't have confidence in the market to sell, especially the ones that also need to buy something. And everybody just kind of takes this like wait and see approach.
Wait and see.
And next year, when we have even less inventory, especially in the new home market, what's going to happen to prices? when the pendulum swings back, rates start cutting, when we start getting into 4.5%.
Yeah, as the rates come down, more and more people come back to the market. For sure.
Yeah. Demand increases. People can qualify again for their pre-approval for the house that they actually want.
Yeah.
And when you only have, 3 houses to choose from in Charleswood or 2 houses to choose from in North Kildonan, and you have all of this pent-up demand, we're going to be in a pent-up demand story again. And I think it's going to be wild. And it might not happen immediately, but it will happen. And I think, people make decisions emotionally and justify logically, but emotionally is like the key word there. And so right now I feel like because there's uncertainty, people are emotional. They just don't want to transact. But once there's certainty, and especially once things start to go the other way, then you're going to see a lot of people re-enter the market.
Right.
And there's a funny meme. It's this like, I can't remember who posted it. I think it was Actually Agents on Instagram, which is a super funny account to follow, by the way. But it was a meme from like a couple or a few months ago. But it's this guy and he's like, "You sure about that? You sure about that? You sure about that?" Yeah. And it's like, buyers in 2020, market is going to crash. Buyers in 2021, market is going to crash. 2022, market's going to crash. 2023, market's going to crash. And it's like, there's a lot of truth to it, right?
Yeah.
And you try to time the market, you're going to be in for a rude awakening. So this kind of goes to my Okay, that's all fine and dandy. Sorry, I gotta let the dog in here again.
Okay.
Pause. Oh, and her feet are muddy too. Great. Sorry. As long as you can hear me, I'll keep going.
I can't hear you very well.
Okay, hold on 1 second. Sorry about that. Can you hear me?
Yeah, now I can.
Yeah, sorry.
That's okay.
So,
take care of her.
Yeah. So the advice that I would give someone if they're really, really worried about the market, I would say, great time to buy because things are only going to get more difficult next year. That's my opinion, my theory. I think I'm going to be slightly right on that. Interest rates, there are shorter terms. The rates are higher than a 5-year fixed. So you can do that, or you can lock in for a 5-year. The reality is, as long as you can qualify, as long as you're comfortable on the payment, just do it. Because at the end of the day, buying real estate, you're buying a home to live in for you and your family because of whatever reason, schools, the area, relocation, like so many things. People need to stop day trading real estate. Like, get 2% interest rates out of your mind. Get this idea out of your mind now that you're going to buy low, sell high in a year or 2 years. Buy long for a long-term investment, but more than just an investment. If it's a single family home, it's a home.
Right.
So, if you purchase now, even on a shorter term mortgage, and if life happens and you really need to relocate or you really need to capitalize, next year when the pendulum swings back the other way, you'll capitalize on the upside when rates come down. So that's my spiel. But this kind of goes into, we'll get into the topic that we want to talk about.
Sure. You're not going to do story time first?
No, I'll do story time after.
Okay.
It's kind of a shorter, sad story, and I feel like we should leave this on a really depressing note.
Okay. Yes, because our next topic is our topic of the week is actually kind of depressing with the higher interest rates and cost of borrowing to be so much higher. When is the best time to ask for help? I've having renewed my own mortgage recently, and interest rate more than doubled from what I had 4 years ago, because I was in a 4-year term. I feel I am feeling the crunch, definitely. It's $500 more a month, right? And I know from talking to other people, they're in the same boat, $400, $500, $600, $700, $800 more a month than what they were paying before. And if you're not diligent and like so many of us just living our lives and enjoying the lake and doing all those things and not really paying attention, I'll stop going for coffee and right, to save money and so I can pay my extra amount on my mortgage. But sometimes you don't notice, I feel like you have to really sit down and look at your budget, actually know where you're spending your money. And $400 or $500 is a lot of money. You're not just going to stop going for coffee and save that, right? Nobody's spending that much money on coffee every month. So, you have to actually look at where is this money going to be coming from. Yes, you might have a good income and have lots of discretionary income. But if you continue to spend the same amount every month and have to pay this, where is it coming from, right? So I feel like it's easy to end up going, oh, wow, there's way less money in my account than I expected, a month later or 2 months later or whatever. So know how much is coming in, and if the expenses are higher than the income and you aren't able to, reduce those expenses, it's a good time to either talk to us about selling or talking to the bank about refinancing, and talk to us about how much equity is in your house, because if you have a good amount of equity, you can refinance and put that over a longer period of time. So then your payment's going to be lower. So that's one way to relieve the big crunch. But then there's, other things that you could probably do is like you don't want to get yourself in a situation where you have to start missing payments, because once you've missed 3 payments, foreclosure starts, right? So, and once foreclosure starts, it's harder to stop it once it's started, right? The fees start tacking on, because as soon as they start that process, there's lawyers' fees, extra interest, all kinds of stuff. And once that starts piling on, your equity is dwindling very quickly, and it's a lot harder to get you out of that situation. So it's best to call as soon as you realize that there isn't going to be enough, or that first missed payment. It's good to have a conversation with someone. Do you have anything to add?
Yeah, what I was going to say is I think generally speaking, a normal situation or person or persons, they will do everything they can to curb their spending and, cut their finances before the bank takes the house. However, there are some unfortunate circumstances that you've come across recently, as an example, and I've come across in the past as well, where people, when they are in a depressive state, if they've lost a loved one, a job, there's some sort of
just having mental health issues. Yeah,
exactly. Some sort of circumstance that is beyond their control.
Yeah.
And maybe they don't have the capacity to ask for help, or they don't have the family to help or friends to help. Those are the people where all of this, you should look at your finances and cut your spending. It just goes out the window because it's not priority one.
Absolutely. They're having a hard time getting out of bed.
Right. Yeah. So that's where it can become really difficult to seek help until it's too late. But if you have the ability to talk to somebody, I mean, when I think about somebody like you, Denise, you're not just a real estate salesperson. You're a real estate advisor. You are advising you're giving advice to people to help their lives and to impact their lives. And, and almost sometimes for us, it's to a fault where we put ourselves into the shoes of our clients so much that it's sometimes you feel like, oh, I'm a social worker today, or I'm a therapist today, or whatever.
Right.
But I mean, that is what this is all about, is helping people. And I know you personally, a couple of years ago or whatever, you tried getting a guy out of a situation where the bank was going to take the house at risk of not making any money. And, because that's just what we do for people, and I think that's what, realtors, when they get into this business, or people are thinking about getting into this business, they should have to be faced with those real life situations and scenarios. And then, depending on how they react to that should depend on, is this person fit for this job? Because there are too many people out there that just take advantage. But and again, I know it's really difficult for people when they're suffering from mental health or depression, or, if they've lost a loved one, to think about us, to think about maybe I should call the realtor and see if, maybe we need to sell the house. but like, that's what we're here for, is to do whatever we can to help somebody out of a bind or a situation like that.
And I'm often trying to keep them in the house. I know lots of other realtors are the same. Like, I talked to another realtor that we like to work with that, her client is having mental health issues. The mom is co-signed the mortgage, but because she is only she's on the mortgage, but she's not the only one on the mortgage, she can't get the refinancing done, or like she can't sign anything at the bank. Like, she can sign her part, but she can't sign for her, I think it's her son. And if he doesn't do something soon, they're probably going to lose the house, and that's going to affect the mom too, because she's co-signed, right? So like, she has to take responsibility. So she's been paying the mortgage because he hasn't been able to get out of bed, right? Like, and it's tough because, okay, how, like, in that situation, unless he actually gets out of bed or had already put in place a power of attorney. And that's, I think, another thing we had talked about earlier is I'd like to see more people, it costs $1,000 or $1,200 or whatever it is, but which is a lot of money, but it protects so much of your future to have a will, power of attorney, and health directive, right? Like, it's, you don't realize how much you need it until you don't have it and need it.
Yeah,
and,
absolutely.
Had that family of one of my friends or one of my clients, my friends and clients, and that other agents I'm talking about, had they had the power of attorney in place or a will in place, things could have been so much better for them. That can do a whole bunch. And even for, I've dealt with lots of, I won't say lots, I've dealt with several clients over the past 15, 16 years where they lose the house because of mental health issues, because they don't reach out, right? And they, aren't working because of their mental health state, and, the mortgage is getting further and further behind. And then they're like, oh, the bank is auctioning it off in 3 days. What can you do? Unless you have a ton of equity and I can find someone to buy it like today, there's probably not much I can do, right? Right? By then the fees and the lawyer's fees and the interest have piled up so much, they've probably eaten up a lot of your equity. Because they're charging you that extra interest daily and lawyer's fees, and like it's a huge amount, right? So it goes so fast. And so to try to end it at that point, it's like, at that point you almost have to take the foreclosure. But whereas if it's really tough because like you're in a state of mental health that you can't deal with it. But if you had a power of attorney, maybe someone could have dealt with it earlier, right? Like maybe they could have talked to the bank about deferring payments, or because most of the people in that situation haven't even called the bank to talk to them about deferring.
No.
Because they're in a state where they can't deal with anything, right? So they haven't, they've just missed payments, which means you're going to start a foreclosure period sooner, right? Whereas if you can at least talk to them about deferring payments, or a different payment schedule or something like that, you can delay that. But keep in mind that interest is coming, but the lawyer's fees aren't. So that keeps you in a better spot, right?
Oh, yeah.
And I know every bank is different, so I can't tell you what those costs would be because every bank I've dealt with has done it slightly differently. Once I get involved, I try to talk to whatever lawyer is involved with the bank so that I can get a handle on how they're planning on doing it, because I find everyone is different and different timeframes. And I've seen one with RBC that it took them several years before they finally foreclosed, whereas other ones, it's like 3 months they're foreclosed.
It's I mean, the reality is there are options to prevent.
There are options.
It's just catching it in time and ahead of time.
And be careful of, I like to mention to be careful of the count, like there's lots of free counseling, credit counseling and stuff like that. It sounds great, but I think you have to be really wary what you're getting yourself into and read over the contract very well, because some of them will make it worse for you in the long run. Because I've seen some of them where they have them paying so much and not enough of it's going to the actual mortgage or other payments, and they still end up losing their house.
Like a debt consolidation arrangement.
There's some of those, yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like I can't remember what the one company was called, but they claim that they're non-for-profit, and then yet not all the money was going, like my client was paying a huge amount to them, and not all of that was going to all the debts. So where's the rest of it going? Right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So just, yeah, you have to be careful what kind of things you're signing, even when you're asking for help, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so when you start to realize the signs, reach out.
Yeah.
So we can try to put you in touch with the right people or offer our advice. Because at the end of the day, I mean, our advice is free, and
yeah,
you know, we've helped a lot of people through these situations, and we've also, you know, got there and it's too late, and then it's like, oh man, super unfortunate.
Yeah. The other thing I wanted to mention before we change topics is if you miss any of your tax payments, the bank can still order force of sale and foreclose on you, because that's part of your mortgage, is that you are required to pay your taxes. Yeah. That's part of your mortgage contract. So even if you're only behind some people's taxes are almost $10,000, right? So even if you're behind, the $3,000 to $10,000 in taxes, and you don't even have to be behind the whole amount. You could be behind $500, and they can order. They'll pay tax it themselves. The bank will pay it so that the municipality doesn't go into tax sale, and then they put a lien on your house and usually start order of sale
proceedings. Yeah. It's sad.
Yeah. Exactly. Like, you're better, again, if you're having a hard time paying your taxes, you're better off having an arrangement with the bank. If you've talked to them, like, we don't have tips out in Niverville where I live, right? So my bank takes my money every month to pay my taxes every September. So I'm paying PIT to the bank, right? Because we don't have tips. And if you have that arrangement, they're paying it, but they're not going to sell my house. They're making sure that my taxes are paid.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's a good point.
Yeah, exactly. It's better to have that arrangement. Okay, so that was our depressing topic for the day.
Yeah.
Not the only depressing topic, apparently.
No. So I've got a story. I have a lot of animal stories.
Yeah.
And this is one I thought about. So my first year in real estate, I was working with this investor. It was the same person whose property manager used to take the doors and windows out of houses when tenants would stop paying rent in the North End in the winter time.
Yeah.
To try to freeze out the rats, as he called it.
Oh,
and anyways, so a property came up in the Point Douglas area, and there is a fairly prominent realtor in the city who does a lot of business in the area. He's a really good guy. And it was a situation where I had scheduled the showing. So this property was like a rental. It was a single family home, but it was a rental property. And there were some pretty questionable characters renting this house. But my client was a slumlord, so he didn't care as long as it was cash flowing. And he was used to that type of tenant. So anyways, booked a showing, and the listing agent wanted to try to jam in as many people. She was saying that it was quite difficult to get into this house because the tenants were being really unruly. So every time there was a showing, if she had another showing request that was had come through when they couldn't allow that showing, she would call that agent as well and then try to jam them in all at the same time. So I booked a showing. Then she called me, said, "You're confirmed. By the way, so-and-so, another realtor is going to be there showing same time. Is that okay?" "Yeah, no problem. It's fine." So showed up there. It's like 1 or 2 p.m. in the afternoon, and looking around, and we hear this barking, and it's just like dog is going off. And I'm a animal lover, and the other realtor was a huge animal lover. And he's quite a bit bigger than me. Like, he's a, big dude. And anyways, we're at the house, and we go to the backyard. We looked out the back. We opened the back door, and this backyard, this tiny little chain link fence backyard with a pole in the middle of the yard. And this dog, it was like a husky cross, and kind of looked like Nova, our dog, but like the pointy ears and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't exactly know how old it was or whatever, just by looking at it, but this dog was emaciated. It was not eating, and they had this thing on a short chain, no collar, just a chain around its throat, wrapped around a pole, and it had wrapped itself around the pole, and now it was stuck there, God knows how long. And it must have been a long time, because the grass in that area was dirt. It was like it wore like a ring out around this pole, and there's like dog crap everywhere. It was like really sad to see. So the other realtor and he was like, "This is effing ridiculous, blah, blah, blah. Like, I can't stand to see this crap." And I was like, "Man, what do we do? Do we call like, animal control or whatever? We call the city?" And he was like, "No, it's not. The tenants are going to come home, and they're going to make up some excuse. They're going to bring it in, and then they're just going to keep doing the shit." So I was like, "Well, what should we do?" And he's like, so he tells his clients, he's like, "I'm taking that dog." And they were like, "Are you serious?" And he's like, "The dog's coming home with me." And so luckily the tenants, nobody was around. Like, it was the one time in God knows how long, I guess, the people weren't there. So he was like, he looks at me and he was like, "Don't say anything." Well, here I am on a podcast saying something. But he was like, this is like years and years and
years later. Yeah.
10 years ago, 9 years ago. So he's like, "I'm taking this dog." And okay. So he jumps the fence, goes into the backyard. The dog it was barking at him, but it was out of fear. And so he just goes up to it. He's like, "Oh, puppy, puppy," starts petting it, and its tail starts wagging. It was one of those carabiner clips. So he unscrewed it and then took the chain off, picked the dog up, and then he climbed over the fence. And it was just like a 4-foot high fence. He climbed over the fence with the dog, put it in his car, and I'm pretty sure to this day he still has that dog.
Wow.
And nobody said a peep. We didn't get a call from the listing agent. I was fully expecting like, okay,
Yeah.
It's going to be a shitstorm. And then I just kind of forgot about it. And then, years went by, I did a deal with him, and then we kind of like talked about it, and we were laughing about it. And he had still had the dog then. But like, yeah. So I struggle with that a lot, like, because I love animals too. And I know you said you've seen some pretty questionable situations with animals and stuff on
Yeah,
showings.
I had to call the Humane Society once because
Yeah.
I was showing a hoarder house, and it was like not even just stuff. It was just like piles of garbage in different rooms and a huge pile of garbage in the yard. And there's like cats coming out of it, right? Like, and my clients, I mean, we were all very unhappy, and their kid was like crying, and, because these poor cats. And yeah, I called the Humane Society, and they got some rescue involved. And
yeah.
The listing agent called me very upset about it, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Because the client was upset with them. And I'm like, well, they shouldn't be doing what they're doing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, it's like a matter of conscience at that point. And I think it would eat me alive if I didn't do something. And yeah, but speaking of that, this is Mila. She's a St. James garbage kitty.
Yeah.
And she was found in St. James, and we adopted her from the Humane Society, and she was in the freebie room where, it's like last resort room. And it's because she has upper respiratory. And so she has these like little flare-ups where her eyes get all puffy. But she's like the best cat. And are you gonna go say hi? No.
Nope.
But she's super chill, and her story was, she was found in St. James. Somebody brought her in with a bunch of kittens, I guess, and she had 2 litters of kittens when she was really, really young. So it stunted her growth because of that.
Okay, yeah,
so she's a really small cat, but yeah, I never got why. There's obviously people have had bad experiences with cats and stuff like that, but I've grown up with cats, and like I know that you've had bad experiences with cats, but I like
it doesn't mean I don't like them. I'm just cautious.
Yeah. Well, they definitely have minds of their own, and but
I'm just cautious because of my bad experience. That being said, part of my bad experience was not the cat's fault. It was the situation in that there had been 40 people through this cat's house in 2 days. 40 groups of people.
I can't imagine being something this small. And
who's very territorial.
You have no idea what's going on, and your life is being thrown upside down. You have all these random people coming through your environment.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I always tell that story, just to get people to not leave the cat at home for showings when it's busy. Yeah.
This is Abby.
Oh, hi, Abby.
She's from up north. So she's from the reserve.
Yeah.
She's awesome too. We spoil our animals, and like we literally, if you come in our house right now, we have toys literally everywhere. And the only thing that she likes playing with is a freaking shoelace.
That's cute.
It's like toilet paper rolls and shoelaces.
Yeah.
And we keep buying like all these freaking toys.
Mabel and Penny have all these toys, and then one of their favorite toys is when they stole one of Alexa's scrunchies for her hair.
Oh yeah.
And they fight over it, and it stretches, and it and they love that thing. Yeah. So did you come up with some giving flowers for this week?
Yeah. So my business of the week, like talking about going back to, when times are tough.
Yeah.
Things are pricey. You should cut spending, but I feel like you should support these local businesses now more than ever.
Yes.
Keep them afloat.
Keep our money local.
Because the reality is a lot of these businesses, they stayed open during COVID, and I feel like people really owe it to them to, like they did whatever they could to get around all the bullshit during COVID, all the requirements that they had to go through, especially restaurants. And like, I feel like now more than ever, people need to show some love. So for me, it's 2 restaurants. One, I'm pretty sure I've talked about them on here before, but Passero Restaurant.
Yeah.
So they closed their Forks location. They're no longer at the Forks.
Oh,
but
okay.
They're moving to 774 Corridon, and they're just finalizing, I guess, their their renovation. But it's legendary Scott Bagshaw at the helm of that restaurant. He also has Enoteca, which is down the street. And I'm so excited to see their new location and all their food. Tara and I have been fans of his food since the Deseo days back in the day.
Yeah.
And it's really cool because a lot of his really amazing staple items on their menu, he's brought them forward into his new restaurants and like kept a lot of the same flavor, but put new spins on it every single time.
Oh, yeah.
And they're so great there, and the service is like unreal. So Passero, if people like, I guess it would be like Spanish inspired with like Italian dishes. It's just comfort food. So
Yeah.
if you go, it's tapas style. It's like family style. So you order a bunch of small plates. They come out as they come out. They're meant for sharing. But you got to bring your stretchy sweatpants after. And then the other one is another restaurant that Tara and I are really big fans of. We love it there. It's called Two Hands, and they're in this place. The name of it is 116, and it's 116 Sherbrooke.
Okay.
And they inside 116 there's another great local restaurant business called Good Neighbor Brewing. And so Good Neighbor Brewing, they have their main tap house in there, and then the chefs at 116, they have a different menu for the tap house, so you can kind of sit in the tap house. You can go in there, just walk in, you don't need a reso, order some great local beers. They have really cool, authentic Czech beers that come in like the honeycomb shaped glasses.
Oh, okay.
And you can order like small bites, just like little snack foods. And then they have the sit down restaurant called Two Hands, which is phenomenal. It was opened by one of the owners of Sioux Soul and Segovia. Again, it's like family style food, but emphasis on like English food from like the London area.
Oh, okay.
And because both chefs spent a lot of time cooking out there, and they brought a lot of the dishes from there. They use like a little charcoal grill, and so they have this like grilled bread. It's like a grilled flatbread with like a dill butter or something like that. It's like, oh my God, so good. Everything there is so good. We ordered, Tara and I went there last time we were there. We ordered, I think it was a ribeye steak, and we're like, oh, it'd be nice to get a ribeye to share, you know? And this thing comes out, it's like freaking this big. Like, what the fuck? We had to take like over half of it home because it was just massive, but
way too big.
Yeah, so good. So good. Really, really great wine menu,
Mm-hmm.
great cocktail menu. So yeah, that's Two Hands. So that concludes my businesses this week.
Awesome. Well, one of mine definitely became popular during COVID,
Mm-hmm.
and that was Pinawa Unplugged.
Oh.
So during, they've always rented gear and stuff for like kayaking and e-bikes and stuff like that in that area. But they got really popular for tubing the Pinawa Channel during COVID. And, they make it such an easy experience. And, it's under $20, right, per person. And it's, they give you a shuttle to the other end, so you only have to have one car with you, and they help you take your tube, and often you're carrying a cooler and a crap, mm-hmm. So it's nice to have that. And then they help you out at the end, which I always find really nice because I'm like panicking that I'm not going to make it out. Now I'm going to keep going straight by. And, but and they just make it a really fun experience. And I like their tubes because they're, some of they're mostly like donut round. These ones they almost look like a inflatable kayak. I find them way more comfortable on my old back, and because you're sitting upright instead of like, in a tube. Yeah, it's more comfortable. You have room for a bag and whatever else. We thought about taking our dogs once, but we haven't done that yet.
Yeah, well, you don't want them to jump out.
Yeah, that would be, I don't think they would, because neither of them really like the water. And that's why I haven't taken them, because I'm like, but I think they'd be stressed out the whole time. I don't think they would relax, right? Like, I want them to live their best life, not their scared out of their mind.
Scared shitless life.
Right? They love hiking, but they're not fond of water. So we haven't made them do too many water things.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So Pinawa
Unplugged.
Yeah.
Cool. I went tubing there years ago. I think it was for like a bachelor party maybe.
Oh yeah.
And halfway down the Pinawa Channel, there was a spot, people called it like the Party Rock, but it was like,
that's where the golf course is.
Yeah. And there were so many people there partying, drinking, music playing.
Yeah.
It was fun.
Yeah.
And then one of the guys I was with, he had this, he bought it at like Walmart, but it was like a pink flamingo tube.
Oh yeah.
And he hit a rock almost immediately and it popped it.
Yes, that is the downside to some of the inflatables on the market.
Yeah. So the whole time he's just like sinking in this thing. It's like folding over him, and he's just like floating down the river.
Yeah. Nice thing with using one of the companies is all their tubes have covers on them. So I've never seen anyone have a problem. And then one of the times I went tubing with Pinawa Unplugged, a lightning storm, like there was no storm in the forecast at all when we went, and we were almost at the Party Rock, the halfway point, and lightning started, and we're like, oh my God, we're on the river and there's lightning, right? Yeah. And I had my Apple Watch on that day, and I quickly called Pinawa Unplugged, and she's like, get out at the golf course and we'll come and get you. So they came in through the golf course and got all our stuff and walked us out. And then took us by bus back. So so some of the advantages of going with one of the companies instead of just bringing your own inflatables. Yeah. And then the other thing is they can't control everything else that's going on the river.
Yeah, for sure.
Because I don't recommend taking your family on a Saturday afternoon.
Oh yeah.
I took my niece 2 years ago, so she would have been like, I took two of my nieces on a Saturday a couple of years ago, and this was incredibly popular thing to do during COVID because it was fun and outdoors, and it wasn't one of the things that there was restrictions on, right?
Yeah.
And we went on a Saturday afternoon. I think our float time was like around noon, maybe 12:30. It wasn't that late in the afternoon, but if you're going to do a Saturday, do early in the morning, as early as possible, because it was like a massive party on the river. And I mean, not just alcohol, it was drugs and all kinds of other stuff that I think she was 13.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Like I saw.
She learned some new things.
I learned new things.
Oh yeah.
Never mind her. I had to try to keep her looking at me the entire time because there was like lots of things happening that you don't want your teenage niece to see. Yeah, but it was crazy. I was like, holy mackerel! Like, and at least she was a teenager. Other people had young kids.
Yeah.
And
Pinawa Pinawa Unplugged, Uncensored.
Uncensored. It was bad. And then she's like, I'm like, did you enjoy yourself? She's like, I think I smelled pot the entire time we were on. Yeah. And I'm like, yes, we did.
Yeah. You know what it smells like now.
Yeah. Yeah. But oh well.
That's funny.
Yeah. So
yeah.
That's the
that concludes the journey today.
Yeah.
Thanks so much, everybody, for tuning in, and look forward to catching you guys on the next one. And hopefully, hopefully we do one sooner than later. And, it's been like when things are busy, it's like hard to find time to do these, coordinate. But yeah, now that things have slowed down a little bit, maybe we'll have more time to jump on here.
Sounds good.
Right on. Okay. Take care, everybody. Thanks so much. Talk to you soon.